Exciting.
So, okay, so I sent you guys, I don't know if you saw them, the questions I want to ask you, but for
Yep.
just context, could you each tell me what is your job today? What's just a few sentences about what you're each doing. Walker, you want to start?
Yes. A quick background on professional, right? That's what you asked.
What's your job?
What's your job? Okay.
What do you do?
I am a manager in the capital program planning team at the MBTA, the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority. I help run the annual update to the 5-year capital investment plan for the whole authority. So all the capital assets, trains, tracks, signals, ferries,
Mhm.
and then balancing the capital projects against their budgets and all this stuff, and helping shape the capital strategy of the T. And based in Boston.
So Lori and I were up there, as you know, last week, and we rode the 77 bus from Cambridge to Arlington that I used to ride back and forth to school. And it was interesting, the changes. But it's still the bus. If you look from outside, it just looks like a 40-year-old bus, but there's
Yeah.
some cool technology in the bus.
Yeah. That's so cool that you were able to do the same route
Yeah,
from way
yeah, it
back
was.
when.
Well, the hotel where we stayed was right, very close to where we used to live. Um, Caitlin, what's your job? What do you do?
Okay. I'm an architectural historian with AECOM, which is heavily an engineering company, but I work in the cultural resources division. And our main role is assisting with the Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act process, which requires that any projects that are using federal funding be reviewed for their impacts on historic resources. So I help identify those resources that are potentially going to be impacted and then review whether or not they're historic and important and evaluating the potential effects.
Good, good. Mr. Quinn.
I am a data scientist for Paradigm Oral Health, and I just handle anything related to predictive analytics and also setting up the connections from all the various surgical practices so that the data makes its way into a central location and then using that.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Okay, so my first question here. How are you using AI in your professional and personal life? Um, Caitlin, you want to go first?
Oh, sure. I will be very quick because I don't use AI professionally at all.
Mm-hmm.
And really personally, I don't either, except for that Google now has their AI thing that comes up every time you search something. So that's handy sometimes, but otherwise, like I never use Chat GPT or anything. So yeah, I'm sure that'll change at some point,
But
but
the Google thing is similar, right? You can ask it questions. It's an AI feature, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's an AI feature, but I guess the way that I use it is just when I search, it just seems to kind of summarize
Yeah.
some information from the top results,
Okay.
which I only use rarely with really simple searches, I would say. Normally I'll go further and actually click into links instead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quinn, how do you use AI?
I use it for coding every single day of work and have every day since being hired. Just I'll tell it the code I need and it writes it for me, and then I'll plug it in and
Because you
run
didn't really learn to code in
because I never
school.
learned to code. So
So you
that's
just
why.
let AI do it.
But I've now sort of I try now to actually write it myself because if you do it that way, you don't actually learn it. So now
Trying to understand it.
I'm trying to actually learn it better, but
Okay.
so I'm trying to use it less actually. But
Okay.
so
And
yeah,
Walker,
that
I'm sorry. Walker, how do you use AI?
Not in the professional world. I believe there might have been a moment where I used AI to help like come up with some of the writing that we were using in some of our public facing documents, i.e. like, editing for like down for clarity, honestly, just like conciseness.
Mm-hmm.
The majority has been in personal use. ChatGPT, although that has like slowed after the initial like, whoa, this is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've also like been entranced by the Instagram AI, where you can make a picture and then ask it to like change your background or like make myself look like I'm in front of a beautiful European skyline, so that I can be happy.
Yeah.
But beyond that, no, it has been noticeable, the decrease maybe in daily use of ChatGPT
Because it was have you seen, you guys, any of you, have you seen AI, the use of it accelerating in the last year? How's it changed or evolved? What are the hot things you're hearing about? Anything?
I feel like people in their personal use are using it less, except that it's now built into things, but people don't open up ChatGPT to search as much just because it was like novel before.
Yeah.
But I think there are now more companies providing similar services that are like, there's one I just heard about. I forget what it's called, but it's like a hot rising one. I'll figure out what that's called.
Yeah, figured that out.
So there's more innovation in terms of like different competitive forces there, I guess.
Okay.
And I think it's harder to avoid because I personally don't really want it. But now
Why
but
not?
now, right? I think that we're going to become reliant on it and not know how to do things anymore.
Yeah.
And so and also it just freaks me out a little bit. And so I think, now it's built into the new iPhone 16, I think. And obviously, like we're saying, it's built into Google now, it's built into Instagram. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's just going to be integrated into all the other technology that we use.
Well, Siri is considered AI, isn't it? Or she?
I guess so, but like traditionally has been such a ineffective version of it in a way, like just not very good. So it felt maybe a little different, and it feels so much smarter now.
I see. Do
So
you use Siri?
rarely. Mostly because she doesn't do a good job. Like I'll tell her play this song and she won't. Like
What about you, Walker? Do you use Siri?
No, don't you see? I mean, I guess there's we have an Alexa here, which I suppose would be similar. I don't know.
Yes.
So yes, I think we use that, but again, run into the same problems that Galen just mentioned. I mean, they're oftentimes
Well, you know what's funny? Among us, the heaviest user of Siri is Lori. She all the time. Well, she like even just when we're driving, she just gets Siri and says, "Give me directions to this or that." So she's very comfortable with Siri, and because it screws up so often, I don't usually. I'd rather poke it my little question on my phone. But
yeah.
that's funny. What about the future? How do you see AI changing in the next few years or in the next 3 to 20 years, I guess?
Maybe it will not hallucinate as much.
Yeah.
It'll evolve beyond that. So like
that
means like coming up with details that aren't real, I guess. It's
Yep.
like you're like cite 3 sources, give me 3 books on this topic, and it'll tell you 3 books and 3 authors that are fake sometimes.
That's weird.
So maybe I'll get better at that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Does anyone have
That's
thoughts?
really what Caitlin said, is she's not using it much because of all it's always wrong or doesn't hear you or whatever. So as it gets better, do you suppose you'll use it more?
Um, I would like to not,
Yeah.
but I imagine that I will.
Mhm.
Just because it's convenient and it'll be easy and everywhere. But I would rather not, because I think, I don't know, it'll keep me less sharp. Like Quinn and I were actually just talking about, how even though I don't use AI professionally, I could see how I could. For
Mhm.
example, writing an architectural description of a house.
Mhm.
That's something I think that's straightforward enough that AI could do that. But then I would lose all my knowledge and familiarity with the terms and everything if I don't actually use it. So I'd like to not. Um,
Okay.
um, but as for how it'll change, I mean, I feel like in the last year even it's improved vastly, and especially in terms of images and videos and everything, I'm sure that'll
Mhm.
become more and more realistic, which is freaky kind of, can't trust pictures anymore.
Hmm.
Walker, anything you see?
Yeah, I mean, um, I think my first thought, I mean, just because of the way you framed the start of this interview with like, what is our jobs and how like
Mhm.
professional, like just coming at it from the public sector too. Like I'm interested, like, and not to say that we don't have a lot of data analysts at the MBTA that are likely using ChatGPT, but I think like once you get to that level beyond like coding, but like, or how do you bring it into more workflows that have like become a lot more manual, and then also how do you deal with the public sector issues such as like records retention and all of these things that are
Mhm.
so perhaps more difficult to do, especially within like a company, and fears of like, well, where is these conversations going, and how do we do that? I think then that leads you into more of a realm of like, what is the regulatory standpoint in 20 years? Like, I have to imagine there's going to be a lot more in 20 years. I have no concept of really what that's going to be, but like
Yeah.
that public sector nature of like, how do we hold on to information plus the images and video stuff seems like, if you're talking a 20-year time scale, there's going to be just a continued push to like, how do we catch up to these things?
Yeah.
um but that, I mean gosh, we've struggled with that since like since any tech. And then yeah, I mean, gosh, it's going to become a lot easier to create, but there's going to be a lot of, I just have to imagine there's going to be a lot of tiers, and not TEAR, but like tiers of like uh not
Steps.
ability, not ability, but
Well,
like hierarchies of like what comes out. I
mm,
have to imagine that maybe it'll be hard to tell, but I just really believe there's some way to like that humans will become more attuned to what is AI and
mhm.
what's not. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like how we interact with it. We're gonna become better at understanding it, like just how we become better at understanding other people.
Mhm.
That's something I've like, that's on those greater time skills, you're able to think like, how do we like
Yeah.
talk to this person or this thing?
So that's my last question, is your hopes and fears about it. So that's a hope for you. What, Walker, what is your fear of what AI could become?
Um, I think it probably, I mean, I suppose I think I would agree with Caitlin's fears of like some of the, not wanting it to take over your life, and maybe like the creativity level of it. But I don't think we'll lose that. I think we'll just probably find other avenues for it.
Mhm.
So maybe fears would be like um the hallucination type stuff doesn't improve, or the flip side of what I said, we actually do not get better at all, and it's like it becomes impossible to tell. So I mean, that's
Are you,
just as likely, honestly. I can convince myself either way.
you're not afraid of like a Terminator situation where the computers are overwhelming us?
No, I mean, I don't think so, but I think that like the the fear is more that like it just helps us get as a society to the level of brain power that like the hope is, and that I know it'll get us to a level there's a spike in the amount that we're able to like human brain power plus
Yeah.
computer brain power is able to get us to. The fear is like not that it takes us to a bad place inherently, but we take that to a bad place. Like I don't think it's AI that's going to like be against. I think we're always going to be the problem. I don't think we're going to be. I think
Yeah.
we're going to use it to
Yeah.
continue the problems that are already showing
Yeah.
like today.
How about you guys? Hopes and fears, Quinn and Caitlin.
Well, I guess comes to mind for me is what it will mean for, say, the kids that are being born now or who are like little kids now who are just going to grow up with AI always at their fingertips. And what are they not going to learn how to do as a result? Like, you know, you're always, I'm sure, going to have like great writers, but is the average kid going to be able to like form a thesis and like write a paper if they don't have to? So I think that, you know, just like cursive has kind of been starting to be phased out. I feel like there are other things that could kind of start to be phased out.
Yeah.
Kids just won't need to learn.
Well, it already doesn't seem like people don't even read books really, because you can just get a digest of it or whatever. So
Right, exactly like that.
yeah.
And I mean, I would just agree with what Walker said about the advancements that are going to be possible and the efficiency that will maybe allow people to do other things and, you know, make exciting advancements, and that could be applied in every profession, in every facet of life, and that's exciting, um, as long as people use it in the right way.
Okay. Good. Quinn, this will be the last.
Okay.
What about you?
I guess I think it could contribute to how everything in the world now is like overanalyzed and like it's like the money ball of everything now.
Yeah.
So it's like the world is losing like differentiation and organic processes, and everything's kind of becoming the same and optimized, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which people don't actually want, but it's done for efficiency, I guess. So I don't know, just as it's like the technology to analyze things and extract the most value out of everything, that might happen more and more.
In a bad way.
Yeah,
That's a
generally
fear.
in a bad way.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Any industries you think will really enhance? Comes to mind of where advanced artificial intelligence could be disruptive to in a good way.
Maybe healthcare eventually.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I don't know.
All right, you guys.